Welcome back to Porterverse OCs. In this episode, we will cover the first successful banking engine to work for Gordon's Hill, Antares. Antares is an O-10-4T and is the largest tank engine to work on Sodor. He is also among the most powerful engines to have ever worked on an island altogether, so he is pretty strong. Like the previous episode, we will go over the character's backstory in detail, and then go over their character traits and what they are like personality-wise. We will start at the very beginning. Here we go. The 1930s. The Great Depression was heavily affecting the world. Sodor was no exception. The Northwestern Railway was forced to sell off various engines in order to stay afloat. This included engine 98462, engine 87546, the engine named Red Dragon, and a variety of other engines, mostly shunting industrial engines. Shortly after this sale, the need for an engine to push trains up the Wellsworth Incline, also known as Gordon's Hill, spiked exponentially. The 320-foot climb at a 175 gradient proved incredibly difficult for trains to conquer on their own, many of whom stalling halfway and sliding all the way down to the bottom. The railway's main locomotive works, Crovan's Gate Locomotive Works, determined that it would be much cheaper to simply build a one-off engine than to modify any pre-existing design, and so they got to work. The first engine was an 080 tank engine, painted only in a gray primer during its brief service life. This engine proved to be too weak to push engines up on their own, and this was deemed a failure and scrapped less than a year later. The next design was a 260 plus 062 Garrett design. The performance was decent, but foot crews ultimately hated the controls and the outdated open cab, and thus it was deemed a failure as well and written off shortly after. The next design was a 2440 articulated engine, and then an 0660 mallet design, both of which were deemed failures for various reasons. Finally, in February 1937, success was finally reached. An O-10-4T proved to be successful in nearly every aspect. This unconventional design was named Antares, who was also the second engine of these trial banking engines to be sentient. He was painted in a special indigo livery, which would become the livery for all banking engines on the railway following this. Antares would quickly prove himself to be the strongest engine to work on Sodor at the time, pushing up trains like the Flying Kipper and the Wild Nor'Wester as if they were nothing. Antares would conduct his banking duties like clockwork until 1957, when he was withdrawn for his first overhaul. For the next few months, two engines filled in for him, an LMS 7F080 known as Thorkel, and an ex-Great Western Railway 5700 named Duck. Duck would leave Wellsworth following his close shave with the Crosby barbershop, and Thorkel would stick around a little while longer when Antares returned from his overhaul. Thorkel will work with Antares until being replaced by Bell in 1965. Antares and Bell will continue banking trains from this moment onward. When Bell left for emergency repairs in the 1980s, Sigrid was brought down to fill in for a bit. Bell will return a few weeks later, which saw Sigrid return to Arsdale End. Antares continues to bank trains up Gordon's Hill to this very day. Many find his job monotonous and often wonder how he doesn't get bored of it. But to Antares, he wouldn't have it any other way. When it comes to character, Antares is considered quieter than most, but also very observant. He often spends time waiting for trains to come by requesting assistance up the hill, so much so that he actually memorized the general pattern of who comes through at each time of day. Antares is also considered the lawful neutral type. Essentially, no matter what conflict erupts, let's say for example steamies versus diesels, both sides, or in all sides, will respect Antares, more so because he's done nothing wrong to them. On top of that, his job is pretty crucial to the railway's operations. Antares most often hangs out with Belle, since she's the other banking engine at Willsworth. Many people assume that they are dating, but both of them have agreed that dating was not a good idea. They are happier as besties. Basically, they have a Yuji Nomura dynamic, if you know what I mean. Antares is also good friends with various coaches and brake vans. He usually talks to the sentient ones when shunting trains up the hill. One of Antares' faults is that he will always push through for his work no matter what. Even when he is sick or severely damaged, he'll push through even if it means ripping his all apart, and that can be dangerous to his health. This is how Belle bounced off of him character-wise, as Belle is very aware of her health, and she is the one to keep him in check to ensure that he is not exerting himself, and to make sure that he takes his regular breaks during the day, as Antares sometimes forgets about them and just keeps working non-stop. But regardless of this, Antares does mean well. Overall, Antares is a very chill, neutral character that pretty much everyone is chill with, and he values his work very deeply and often exerts himself a little bit, but he always means well in the end, and has proven himself time and time again. Well, that was Porterverse OC's episode 2. I had a lot of fun with this one, I must say, and I would love to do more episodes of this series eventually. Who would you like to see? Maybe Thorkel, Kasela, or even Warrington or Grace Bartholomew, perhaps. So let me know what y'all think in the comments below. And also what y'all think of this new background I got going, and also general branding. I feel like this fits more, you know, for my general vibe of my content. And also much brighter too, you know. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below. Thank you all very much for watching this episode of Porterverse OCs. And I shall see you all same time next week.